Most people completely waste their 20s. They tell themselves, I'm just having fun before life gets serious. But your 20s aren't supposed to be throwaway years. They are actually the foundation years. And if you don't use those years to actually grow, you are setting yourself up for not only failure, but also a lot of regret. In this video, I'll explain why people waste their 20s and how you can do the exact opposite, which will put you guys all in the top 1%. Alright, so the first thing is the trap of freedom. Every single person will treat their 20s like it's their last little bit of freedom. And this spills onto, like, even when people are getting married, right? You'll see people at bachelor parties. The guy that's getting married will say, this is my last night of freedom. It's gonna be all over after this. But that is just not true. I don't know why people think like that. But anyways, moving on from the marriage part of things, that is why most people waste their time. They have fun. They think life is going to get too serious. So they just go to parties every day, drink alcohol, try this drug, try that drug. And it's a complete mess, and it's seriously a dangerous mindset. So the first thing you need to do is just completely get out of that mindset. And if you're like me and you're already out of that mindset, then you will get very far in life. Okay, now the second thing is the financial trap. Now, in your 20s, people start to graduate college and they start to land these big boy jobs, right? And what do children do with big boy jobs? They just blow all their money on designer clothes, expensive cars, gadgets. They get themselves into debt, all to just show off and impress people who don't even care. Now, I used to do this back when I was like a kid. With my Christmas money, I would get, $200 to $300, and I would just completely blow it. I would buy a bunch of random toys that I would never use, and I would go ahead and buy like a nice pair of sneakers or maybe like a Nintendo Switch or whatever. And my uncle, he always told me when I got this money to save it for a car or something, right? He'd just put it in the bank, and I would joke around and say, hell no, why would I do that? You know what I mean? But now looking back, I wish I did that. I wish I saved it or invested it at least. I didn't know what investing was back then, but yeah. And that's pretty much exactly what most 20-year-olds do with their money, except this time they actually have jobs and they're making much more money, but then they're just blowing it all on a bunch of things bunch of liabilities pretty much, right? And even older adults fall for this trap as well. I'm sure you guys have all heard of the keeping up with the Joneses trap, where you're always just upgrading cars, upgrading houses, even though you don't need to, but you just want to impress the Joneses and keep up with them. It's a pretty universal trap across all ages, but I feel like in your 20s is the most important time to completely avoid this trap. You got to live below your means. If you're making 10K a month, that doesn't mean that you can spend 8,000 of that a month on rent. You need to try and limit your costs to the very, very lowest, right? And just invest the difference. That is how you get ahead. Drive a beat up car. You don't need a Porsche or anything like that just yet. Avoid takeout, avoid eating out if you can. That is all you need to do to avoid that trap. And it will seem hard, especially if there's people around you that are flexing all of this money and all that, and all of their designer clothes and like the newest iPhone or whatever. And it's gonna be really hard when you see them in their Mercedes and then you're just sitting there in your beat up car. But all you need to do is just keep at the back of your mind that you are compounding, you are investing in your future, and in the long run you will come out on top and your money will be working for you. Okay, now my next point here is the you only live once excuse. That is a very common excuse that literally everyone uses who just completely waste their time, and it's honestly the biggest lie that people use to just justify their bad habits. Because if you truly only live once, wouldn't you want to make your life count? Wouldn't you want to build something and be remembered for doing something and having an impact on people, instead of just wasting it scrolling, drinking, and getting high? So that excuse, honestly, it makes no sense to me. Of course, you do want to have fun here and there, you know what I mean? You don't want to be too serious all the time, but like using you only live once as an excuse is just honestly so dumb to me. I use it as an excuse to work hard and show up every day because I actually want to leave some sort of an impact, and I only live once, so I only got one shot of actually leaving some sort of impact. I got no other shot at doing that. So yeah, the you only live once excuse is honestly terrible. Of course, you can celebrate your like short-term goals that you've set yourself and, you know, go party or whatever. You only live once. Okay, that's fine. But if you're just partying for no reason, just for the enjoyment, the dopamine hit, and you're saying you only live once, you need to seriously rethink your life. So the opposite of this point is pretty much what I said just before. You do only live once, so you definitely want to make that count. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Maybe write something down somewhere, like you only live once, and then write down exactly what you want to achieve in your life, what kind of impacts you want to leave, what you want to be remembered for. Obviously, you don't want to be remembered as the guy who just parties every day and wastes his time. So yeah, just write all that down and just remind yourself you only have one shot to actually make that happen. All right, now my next point is about instant gratification and long-term gratification. So instant gratification is pretty much just those short, cheap dopamine hits, like scrolling, eating junk food, and sitting on the couch instead of exercising, right? It feels so good. Like right now, it feels so good to just sit in bed and watch YouTube. It will be so good in the moment, but instead I'm at my desk, I'm recording. Of course I do enjoy it, but then obviously after this I gotta like edit it and like do all these mundane tasks to actually get the video up there. In the short term, whilst I'm editing, I'm going to absolutely be hating my life pretty much, right? It's gonna be so dreadful. Whereas if I just watch YouTube, it's gonna be instant. I'm gonna get so much dopamine. I'm gonna love my life, and yeah. But then if I actually do just sit around and watch YouTube all day, when the day's over, I already know that I'm gonna be feeling so depressed and unmotivated that it's honestly just gonna ruin my whole week. So do I want to sacrifice 5 hours of watching YouTube to ruin my whole week? Or do I want to sacrifice 3 hours and get this video up there and feel good about myself for the rest of the week? It's honestly a no-brainer, but the thing is, not everyone looks at it that way. And you really need to master this in all aspects of your life, not just like the work part of it. You need to master this in all aspects of your life, and it's really hard at first. And honestly, I think I'll make this a separate video, honestly, next week. Keep an eye out for that. I'll tell you guys exactly how to master long-term gratification, but I'll give you guys a few pointers right now. You just need to start small. I suggest starting with getting rid of porn. If you're a young guy and you watch porn, that is honestly the worst form of instant gratification that you can get. So cut it out. Comment down below if you want me to make a video on how to cut out porn, but that's where I'll honestly start. Then once I've mastered that, I would move on and cut out junk food. And then once I've mastered that, I'll cut out lazy days and exercise every day, right? You can see where I'm going here. You want to start slowly and start cutting out one thing at a time. You can't, it's impossible to cut out everything at once unless you're some sort of demigod. But yeah, I'm gonna move on to the next point before this video gets too long, but I would definitely be making another video next week about how to completely get rid of instant gratification. All right, now my last point is how to actually stick by this. Like I said before, it's going to be very hard. Everyone around you is going to be having fun, wasting money, wasting their time. They're gonna be flexing, they're gonna be showing off, they're gonna be trying to peer pressure you as well into like, come on, like, what are you doing? You're such a loser. Why are you working tonight? Come out and party. Everyone around you, and it's gonna feel like you're gonna be feeling stuck. You're gonna be like, dude, I'm missing out on all these things. Everything that I'm doing is not even working anyways. What's the point? You're also gonna feel like you're missing out. But just remember, the real flex in your 20s is just cutting all of that noise out and focusing solely on yourself, your discipline, your skills. And you need to really get in that flexing mindset. Like every time my friends or family eat McDonald's, for example, they're trying to flex to me how good it tastes, right? But that just doesn't work on me anymore. I'm flexing to them how healthy I feel. I have no brain fog. I have so much energy. I'm flexing to them the benefits of me not eating McDonald's. I don't know if that makes any sense. Same thing, you can apply it to alcohol. If your friends are drinking and all that, you can flex to them that you're responsible. You can flex to them that you don't feel sick. You can flex to them that your brain is healthy, that your liver is healthy. You can do this with literally everything. You want to flip getting flexed on and start flexing, because that is the real flex. So yeah, that is exactly what you want to be doing. Remember, you only live once, so make sure that this life counts. But anyways, that's it for today's video. I make videos like these every single week in hopes to change people's lives. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.